right side of the church on using a candle. And as I approached, the pastor, who happened to be European, and please let's understand, there are some good Europeans out there who are doing marvelous things. So that we're not beating down on Europeans. We're just, I mean, this is who this person was, and he had two African pastors with him. And when they saw me approach, they decided that it was important that they start speaking my language, thinking that I wasn't African, you know, that I wouldn't understand the language. So what I heard them saying to this young man who was standing up was that it was very, very important that he gives all that he has, you know, because the more you give to God, the more your chances of going to heaven. And I heard this young man say, I need this money to give to my mother because my mother is sick. I need it to help support my mom. And they told him, you have to give all that you have so that you can go to heaven, because it's easier for the camel to go through the eye of the needle, you've heard that before, than it is for the rich man to get into heaven. So my question was, I mean, at that point I said, I have to ask a question here. And then I greeted them. I said, well, you know, I told them immediately, she speaks the language. So I said to the people there, I want to ask each one of you that have received any money from this church to stand up. Nobody stood up. Everybody sat down. I said, well, those of you who get money from this church, or rather who gives money to this church, who give money to the church, please stand up. Everybody stood up. I told the pastor, I said, you see, I don't understand when you say that a poor man doesn't get into heaven. It seems to me that you should be the one giving them money so you go to heaven. Do you understand? Not them. These people are poor. And this church was just absolutely magnificent. But around it was nothing but dilapidation. Okay? So we're not using, we're not using the church to promote good values. We're using what I saw there. That's a poor value. How can you do that to people? What are your thoughts on that? I'm sure you perhaps...
I totally agree. I think that probably people in most of the countries that are listening to us have seen the similar situations. In the United States, it's quite prevalent that in communities where there is blight and just total degradation, the communities have been destroyed because of all sorts of reasons, either drugs or loss of jobs or other things. You can find these humongous, I don't know, is that a word?
Yes, that's a word.
These humongous churches, these huge edifices, and all around them are these little people, or these little houses, or little people are struggling, trying to get by. But then you will walk inside, and some people even have the nerve enough to ask you for your 1040. They want to know how much you make, so they can make sure that they're getting the 10% that the Lord is supposed to have. Let me tell you something. God owns everything. He doesn't need anything from you.
That's right.
He owns everything. It's those of us that have more than what we should have, that are not willing to share with anybody else, that's causing it to appear that God needs something from you. No, that and I'm hoping that I'm not stepping on anybody's ideological or theological or philosophical toes.
Well, we're not making any apologies. We're going to tell the truth today.
That's it.
Because the problem we have, Dr. Sophia, is that we don't speak up enough.
No, we don't.
And that's why we are an abused people. And I'm going to tell you, we have to tell the truth today. We are an abused people. There comes a time where you have to say, you cannot complain about what other people are doing to you when you continue to allow them to do it to you. Because at that point now, it's not their fault anymore. It becomes your fault. You understand? It becomes your fault. There's an African saying, Onyi rogi hasege cho ichi dego. Eniga sege gwo tijila. What does that mean? Your enemy will tell you got flies on your sore. But your friend will say, here's what you need to patch, to heal the sore. Then you don't have to deal with the fly. That's what we're talking about. Not in God's name. We want to talk about what it's going to take to heal our wounds, so we don't have to shoo the flies away.
Yes.
Okay, that's what Godianism is talking about. The third thing we're not doing is we are not respecting our culture. We're not respecting our culture.
Now, we're talking about Africans right now. Okay.
Yes. We're going to tell